Peace, family. What's good? It's your brother Brian Nee Boy Doku, also known as Melanin Rich. And man, I got a friend with me, a mentor with me, real smart, smooth brother, and I had to bring him on so we just have this one-on-one talk so we can drop some game for the family about money, currency, differences, and he has a great opportunity. But I know he has some information he'd like to share. Um, this is a brother I've been knowing for a few years now. I met him here in Brampton at a local event that the city of Brampton was putting on, the Entrepreneur Center. So, I've known him to be a businessman from the jump. He's a family man. He's a smooth brother, man. But, you know what I'm saying? Let me just let the brother introduce himself. You know what I mean? but we,
You keep putting it in there, smooth brother, man. Um, Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to your audience, and hopefully I can teach someone something. Hopefully I can impart some information that'll be of value. A little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Brampton, moved around a bit, but I was raised by a single mom. My parents split when I was maybe about 10. And like most kids, I grew up just, wanting the world, wanting everything in the world. And after my parents split up, my mom and I, we went through a lot of struggle. My mother has an 8th grade education, moved to this country for a better life, like most immigrant parents. And she worked a factory job most of her life, that I remember anyway. And she, ironically, used to always say to me, Ryan, don't work for anyone. And I never understood why, right? She'd get up every morning, take the bus, catch it, go to the next city, stand on an assembly line, which is what she did, picking and pricing products, stickering, pricing products. But she would always come home and say to me, Ryan, don't work for anyone. But she had never run a business. She has no experience, or even, she doesn't know anything. She just looked at people who worked for themselves and thought that they had a better standard of living than what we had, because we did have it rough. So I grew up just with the thinking all the time. Mom said, work for myself, don't work for anyone. So as I'm growing up and I'm having my jobs and various things, I was always thinking outside the box. And this was something that, I'm so grateful that she did, because I wasn't taught that in school, to think outside the box. So I always, you know what I mean? We go to school and we learn from textbooks what they want us to learn, right? And anything outside of that, the system doesn't educate our children about. So I always thought outside the box. I always looked for opportunities that I could create for myself. And it didn't really crystallize for me why she was always telling me that, until this one thing changed my life, rocked my world. She worked for this factory company I'm telling you about for a little more than 20 years. She hits the age of 64. She has less than a year left for retirement. And, most people, they look at that retirement age of 65, which we'll talk about later. Retirement age to me is not an age. Retirement has all to do with money, right? Yeah. But she hit 64, less than a year left to work until she retired. And the company she dedicated over 20 years to, that company went bankrupt, right?
Wow.
And in that moment, she was devastated. And it was my older brother who went with her to the company, and lawyers trying to figure out, well, what does that mean for her pension? I'm like, we're bankrupt. Sorry, we ain't got nothing for you. So it was in that moment for me when I realized, wow, it's not so much about being in business, or it's so much about being an owner of a company. It's about control.
Exactly.
Right? Because she had zero control. And at least when you work for yourself in any capacity, you have control, right? So needless to say, I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. I got into entrepreneurship at 19. I was working for an insurance company, and that insurance company, when I went into the interview, they said to me, yeah, well, what we do is we pay you on a residual basis. And I'd never heard of that term ever up until that point in my life. So I asked them, I said, what is residual? What is residual basis? And they explained to me. And for any of your guests or your audience members who don't understand, residual income is when you continue to be paid for something that you did in the past or you did once before. And a real funny story, I'm 19 at this time. I don't know a whole lot. I don't know much about anything, right? And I answered the ad. How I ended up in this interview is the ad said, unlimited income potential, make your own hours, be your own boss. And mom always said to be my own boss, work for myself. So I went. I didn't know it was an insurance company. And I'm sitting in their building, and they explained to me what residual income is. And I asked the interviewer, I said, is that even legal? I'm 19, I'm naive. And like I said, I don't know anything about anything. So they said, yeah, it's perfectly legal. And they broke it down to me. They said, because listen, you go out there and you're going to find your own clients. You're going to build your own block of business. But you're going to sign those clients to our company. Now, if you didn't find those clients, we otherwise wouldn't have them as clients. So it's only fair that when they pay us, we pay you. And I was like, man, I love that concept. Because the way they explained it is you build your block of business to a point that you can do what you want with your time. You don't have to get out of bed because you know that income is coming. And the reason why that hit me so hard is because I watched what my mother did for 20 plus years of her life. She continued to trade time for money, right? And unfortunately, with less than a year left for her, the rug was pulled from underneath her. Long story short, I pursued the life of an entrepreneur more aggressively from that point when what happened to my mom. I left the insurance company, did some other ventures, ran traditional business, brick and mortar locations, landscaping company, got into some trade work and different things, and ended up going back to that insurance company when I was a little bit older, because now I had children, I had real responsibilities, and I understood that even though those other businesses that I got involved with allowed me to still be in business for myself, they didn't provide the time flexibility that the insurance industry did for me. So I went back to it, and then fast forward to today, growing and continuously growing and developing, I got introduced to an online e-commerce business where now I work strictly from home. And I guess we'll talk more about that, but I'm a father of 5, married to my best friend from high school. She's a strong supporter in all the endeavors that I do. So I'm very blessed man. And you know what? Just a simple guy, like all other fathers, all other men, wanting to create something that can be left behind as a legacy for his children. All right. In a nutshell.
I see you in action, and I know I can testify you're doing a great job, man. But what we forgot to mention is your name.
Did I not say my name?
Who you be, brother? Who you be?
Did I not say my name? My name is Ryan D. Forrester.
That's the real Ryan D. Forrester on Instagram.
Ryan Forrester, yes. The real Ryan D. Forrester Instagram. And I actually have 2 Instagram accounts, and then the other one's just Ryan D. Forrester.
All right. So let's talk about what the people want to know about, man. That MONEY. That money, money, money. What what do you think are like the most essential things about money that people need to know?
You know what? It's funny you asked me that, because I'm right now, for the past, I think it's been 5 or 6 weeks, I started doing something with my kids, my children, called Money Monday.
Wow.
And the reason why I did is because it wasn't there for me. It wasn't there for me. We all grow up in a world where we're taught, go to school, get a good education, graduate, go get a good job, work into retirement. But no matter what we do to make a living, we're never taught about money, what it is, where it comes from, the history of it. So, what I've learned over the years, I do my very best to pass on to the next generation. So the money on a very basic level, it's a medium of exchange. It's a medium of exchange. And
What that means, but I think everybody should know what that means. But for those who don't know what you mean by medium of exchange, can you just?
well, if you have something, and again, talking about Money Monday with my children, I initially I started with the bartering system, talking to them about barter. Way before money, the concept of money existed, there was trading that would happen. If you have, I'll trade you 3 coconuts for 2 fish, because I need fish for my family. You might need coconuts, right?
Yeah.
But then that bartering system evolved into other forms of money. So a lot of things have actually been money over centuries. But medium of exchange simply means you have something that I want, and I have money, whatever that is, depending on the time period we live in, that I can trade to you for that good or service or whatever the value is that you have that I want.
Yeah,
So that's what I mean. That's what I mean by medium of exchange.
so like back in the days in Africa, like in Ghana, Nigeria, certain West African countries, we used cowrie shells as a
Okay.
medium of exchange.
Yep. Yep. See, shells, livestock, wheat, a whole lot of cattle, right? Real quick point with the bartering. When I was on Money Monday, I was talking to my children about the bartering system. It was really cool. I found online a bartering game.
Okay.
So with kids, you have to try and make it as enjoyable and fun as possible. So this bartering game was strictly cards that had different things on it, but it was a limited number. So like I said, there was wheat, there was horses for transportation, there was livestock, because not everyone, we live in a very rich society today. And I believe, a lot of people take a lot of things for granted. But that bartering game, the whole object of the game was to get at least one of everything. Right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
much like what you said, shells, and there's so many things that have been considered money. But yeah, I mean, we're obviously far evolved from the bartering system, but it's important for people to understand that.
Yeah, and I guess it all really comes down to value,
It
you
comes
know.
down to value.
And so,
Absolutely.
can you, just give us a brief explanation on like the difference between money and currency, if there is a difference? Because
There is a difference, but it's important, I think, first to understand um, the difference between where the difference began. Okay,
yeah, yeah,
and what I mean by that is gold and silver, since ancient Greece, has been money, right? Gold, and I say this to a lot of people, gold is God's money, right? People would walk around with gold coins, silver coins, and that, evolving from the barter system, evolved into using coins for trade. And I won't get too deep in the definition. I know we're limited on time here, but Gold and silver used to be money used in trade. And there's, if you go back, the goldsmith is someone who would produce gold and all these sorts of things. But it came to a point where it was difficult to walk around with more and more gold. So what the goldsmith would do is issue a certificate. He'd issue a gold certificate. So now that's what you and I will use in trade. Okay, we'll have gold certificates which represent the gold that we have with the goldsmith. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if we ever took these certificates back to the goldsmith, we would receive our gold. And sometimes in my presentations I use the example of a dry cleaner, or the dry cleaner. You go there and you give the person your shirt or whatever piece of clothing, and they give you a claim check or a claim receipt. All right, but the question is, what has the value? Is it the piece of paper, the claim check, or is it the shirt? Well, the value is the shirt.
The shirt, yeah.
Right? So it's the same scenario here where the goldsmith is holding the gold, but he gives you and I a claim check or a certificate. But it's just easier for us to use that certificate in trade and then go back to the goldsmith when we want the actual value. So fast forward, that was that was basically the standard for the longest time. And fast forward now to 1971. 1971, President Nixon was in power in the US. And the US, even till today, is known as the world's reserve currency. Okay? Everything is priced in US dollars.
AKA Federal Reserve notes.
AKA Federal Reserve notes. That's right. And the Federal Reserve notes, the US dollars, were backed. They were physically linked to gold that were stored in the vaults, such as Fort Knox. Yeah, right? Yeah. So again, if you pay close attention, this is very similar to the goldsmith situation. The US basically has those Federal Reserve notes all over the world, right? And they're holding gold from many nations. Now, we're all everything is traded in US dollars. But the reason why I mentioned 1971, it's a very important year to know. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was August 15th of 1971. President Nixon signed an executive order stating that the dollar will no longer be linked to gold. He is decoupling the two from each other. It was supposed to be temporarily, but here we are almost 50 years or so later, and we're still operating on the same system, which is a fiat currency system. Okay, so I give you all that history to explain to you that there's a difference between money and currency. Okay, because currency there's something very unique about money. It has to be a medium of exchange, like I mentioned already. So, are we able to use it in trade? It has to be a unit of account, right? There has to be some kind of value to it in terms of, if there's $100 written on it, then we know it's $100 note, or so on and so forth. Has to be durable, has to be divisible, need to be able to make change, has to be portable, and something called fungible. Fungible is an interesting word. All that simply means is $1 in your pocket is worth the same as $1 in my pocket, right? Regardless of what we do, we live in the same nation. It's fungible. It's the same. Mm-hmm. Now, currency, as I just explained, fiat currency, is all of these things. But the one thing that it is not is a store of value. Okay? Gold is all of these things plus a store of value. Now, why do I say that? I say that because if we go back, again, to before President Nixon took us off the gold standard, he separated the Federal Reserve notes from the backing of gold. an ounce of gold was about $35, 35 US dollars, in and around there, right? You fast forward to today, and I just checked it this morning, an ounce of gold is $1,549. So the question is, what's different? Did the gold change? No, it didn't.
No.
It didn't change, right?
It's the money.
The currency.
The currency. It's the currency.
The currency changed.
Yeah.
And it changed, and we'll probably get into it, but I'll just touch on it now. It changed because up until President Nixon removed the gold backing from the US dollar, just like with the goldsmith, there could only be so many US dollars printed for gold that was stored.
Mm-hmm.
So and this happened with the goldsmith as well. So if you and I are the goldsmiths, right? We're holding the shirt, we're holding the value, and we're issuing the notes, the claim checks, right? We're in a situation where not everybody is coming back to us at the same time wanting all of their gold. So we could likely issue more claim checks than we have gold, right?
Which would be dishonorable.
Very dishonorable. And that is exactly what happened in 1971. When Richard Nixon severed the tie, they now have the freedom to print as much paper, currency, fiat currency, as they want. So now as they print more, we have things like inflation, yeah, right? Because now there's more of the dollars in the market. So there's strain on prices. Prices have to go up. But as inflation goes up, gold is priced dollars, gold goes up. So you look at what have any other history, gold can still buy the exact same thing today, even though prices have gone up, and in many cases by thousands of %. Okay, so that's the main. That's the difference. Those are the main characteristics of money and fiat currency. But the main difference is the dollars that we work for, whether it's in the U.S., whether it's here in Canada, whether it's over in Japan, doesn't matter. All central banks operate on the same philosophy. They're printing, and every time they print more currency, it's losing value.
Hey, we gotta let that breathe. We gotta let that marinate. And I hope the family really understands what you're saying, because it took me a long time to even get these concepts.
Yeah, I'm glad you took that pause, because when you stop to think about the strain on families today, the strain on people today, but they don't really understand what's happening. Right? It's like a slow pressure cooker. I forget how it goes, but there's a story that, you put a frog in water and turn it up slightly.
It doesn't even know.
He doesn't even know.
You put it in the boiling water.
It's like, whoa!
It's hopping right out.
Exactly. Well, we are in that slow boil. People don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, the price of everything keeps going up except the wages.
Right? But people end up working 2 and 3 jobs just to survive. I mean, again, go back to our parents or even our grandparents. Back then, only one person worked.
Yeah.
One person worked. Typically, it was the man. Typically, it was the father, right? And mom was home to be able to look after the kids and all sorts of things. Today, you have 2 incomes, sometimes 3 and even 4 incomes between the pair, because they're working a part-time job, they have a full-time job. There's a strain on people because the money currency is not, talk about store value, and this will be the last point. I don't want to, bang the hammer too much, but the reality is you have to find a way to save in an asset class that keeps up with or outpaces inflation. And if we're only saving our paper money, putting it in the bank, and they're paying us, I don't know what it is today, 0.2% on a savings account. Meanwhile, inflation is 2%. How do you ever get ahead? And that's the slow cook that I'm talking about.
Yep.
People just keep working harder and harder and harder, not realizing what's really happening.
Your currency is worth less and less and less with each passing day, and you're saving it in a vehicle that you're not even getting 5% return on. Then you're not. Yeah, that's what I mean. If it's anything under 5%, you're not even keeping up.
Nope.
You know, and plus you want to be ahead. So I think that's powerful how you were talking about gold, and gold being a solid store for value. You know, we can say it's inflation proof for sure.
And listen, I just started listening to the experts, right? And all the years that I worked in the financial industry as an insurance advisor, this was never taught to me. It was never a conversation. And for me, the reason when I started to learn about the history of gold, the history of monetary policy, fiat currency, all that sort of stuff, the reason why it made so much sense to me is because of my insurance background, right? Because with my clients, I provide them life insurance, disability, all sorts of different types of insurance products. And what is insurance? Insurance is I have it in case I need it. Mm-hmm. I pray to God I never need it. Nobody wants to use their life insurance, right? Nobody wants to use disability, because when you use insurance or fire protection for your home, that means something's wrong, something broke or something's not right. Well, that's the same way I look at gold, as insurance, right? Because we have insurance, man, there's all kinds of insurance. You can get insurance on almost anything, but what's the insurance on your money?
Yeah, they said J-Lo had insurance on her ass at one point in time.
Exactly. Right? And I think Beyonce insured her legs.
Okay.
Like, you can put insurance. People have insurance on their pets. I don't get it. But the reality is, what is the insurance? We don't have insurance. We don't have money insurance.
Exactly.
Right? And I've learned over the years that gold is one of the best ways to do it.
Okay, so now, oh man, we gotta let that marinate. Oh, I wanted to ask you about the opportunity, but before that, I just want to tell the family that there's this document. It's a great document. You can find it online. It's a PDF. It's called A History of the Canadian Dollar, and it's actually published by the Bank of Canada. And it goes into, when the Canadian dollar came off the gold standard. It goes into, the currency they were using before. They were like these purple beads. It's got all these pictures. It's a very informative document, and it's really good to know about money, because like Brother Ryan said, like we never really received that financial education, in the system.
It's the most ridiculous thing. We all use money, but most people don't. Man, I'm gonna get off that soapbox.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you originally said, about being in control. Mm-hmm. See, that's the thing. When you're privy to like this information, or after you start studying and learning this information, you will take control of your financial affairs. You'll take control of your money. You basically take control of your life and take accountability. And instead of letting money control you, now you're in control.
Absolutely.
You're playing the game. You're not having the game played on you. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's right. And the thing about it, what you said with the BOC, Bank of Canada, issuing that document, that PDF, everything is, especially with the day and age we live in with the internet, everything in terms of information is available, right? Even in the US, it states right in their document that the Federal Reserves are debt notes.
Yeah.
Right? They're debt notes. But, you take this conversation to people and most people are like, oh man, you're crazy, because they're already conditioned on how the system wants them to be conditioned.
Yeah, there's people every day talking about, the national debt, the federal debt, the deficit. But if they understood how money's created, then they would understand that that deficit could never, ever, ever, ever be repaid because it's the way it's designed.
Right.
Just look up fractional reserve lending. Just
Oh
look.
man, you're gonna mess me up. I don't even want to talk about. Oh man, when I learned, dude, when I learned about fractional reserve, give your people some homework. Look up fractional reserve lending. As a matter of fact, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna take a shameless plug here.
Yeah, of course.
So in the years that I worked as an insurance advisor, remember I said my mother unknowingly always taught me to think outside the box. So working as an insurance advisor, that industry has a stigma. This guy's gonna come to my house and try to sell me something. You're just pushy salespeople. Well, that's not my nature, right? That's not my nature. I am very much a servant of people, to people, and I want to serve people. So when I started getting some of these things, you guys just pushy salespeople, I started to say, okay, well, how can I make myself different? What can I do differently? So I started writing articles to educate people. I started writing articles, reports, different things like that on different topics about insurance, finances, and whatever. And there's a report I wrote called The Truth About Money. 3 quick key facts you may not know. So instead of me talking about fractional reserve lending, you can go to ryandforrester.com/gift.
You could spell that out though. You could spell it out, the full.
Yep. It's RYAND as in David, FORRESTER.com/gift, GIFT, because that is my gift, free gift at that, my gift to people. The things that I've learned over the years, I believe it's incumbent upon me to share it with people, right? And there's that saying, knowledge is power, which I believe only to a certain degree, because you can have all knowledge in the world, don't take any action, and you're just as smart as the person who didn't know, right? But I believe knowledge is power with applied action, right? So again, it's ryandforrester.com/gift. You can go there, get my free report, The Truth About Money, 3 quick key facts you may not know. And it may open your eyes to, again, fractional reserve lending, some of the other things that I talk about in there.
Thank you for that. Thank you for creating that. Thank you for sharing that with the family.
No
But
worries.
now, back to the gold, back to this beautiful, wonderful opportunity we have for the family today. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Because
sir.
not everybody could just go out there and buy an ounce of gold like that. Some of us might not have, 1,500, 1,600 liquid cash to just buy an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
So you could let the family know on how they could start saving in gold.
So here's, first I'll share with you a bit of groundwork, okay? And a lot of when I sit down with people and I'm sharing things with them, I talk to them about, listen, you don't know what you don't know, right? There's the things in life that we know, and we know those things. And there's the things that we don't know, and we also know that we don't know those things. But there's these things that's just completely off of our radar. And there was, for me, it was completely off of my radar that, number one, I didn't know the money we were using was backed by gold. I didn't know that history, right? But more importantly, I believe everyone knows that gold has value. Whether people know anything about gold or not, you talk to them about gold, do you think gold is valuable? Everybody's gonna say yes. So there is that level of understanding. However, because of, again, culture or or my parents. I grew up thinking that I couldn't afford it. And I also didn't even know where I could get it from. Until a trusted friend of mine called me up and shared something with me, right? Much like what we're doing here today, sharing information. And I got started with this company 2014. So a little more than 5 years ago. That was April 2014. And at that time, I didn't know what I didn't know, but I was open to learning. And I got introduced to the idea that I can acquire physical gold in small transaction-friendly sizes. Now, small meaning what I can afford. Like you just said, gold right now, an ounce of gold, 1,500 Canadian dollars, sorry, 1,500 US dollars. Who has that just liquid to say, I'm going to go do that on a consistent, twice a month or even once a month? Majority of the people don't. And the idea was introduced to me, and I looked at the information, and what was present for me was I was able to save gold in small amounts that I could afford and put it aside, insurance, put it aside. And if I never needed to use it, I pray that I don't. I don't want to use my insurance, right? But if I never needed to use it, then that's real wealth I can pass on to my children. Sadly, when at the end of, especially in our culture, right? People pass on debt. Grandpa has died, but he owes here or there. And, here's a way that I saw that I could get small transaction-friendly sizes of gold, save it for myself. If I need to use it, I have the insurance. If I don't need to use it, it's wealth passed on to the next generation. So that company is called Care Bars International. Getting back to your question. And e-commerce company, much like Amazon and eBay, right? You can go create your own account. You can open your own gold savings account for free. And it trips me up because sometimes when I talk to people and I say, hey man, do you have a gold savings account? Again, they don't know a gold savings account. No, what's that, right? People don't know what they don't know. It's an opportunity that's available to everyone. You can open a free gold savings account, start protecting your future buying power with physical gold, all right? And I can show countless examples. I mean, I didn't prepare slides for this, but I can share countless examples where even 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, what 1 ounce of gold was able to buy, the value of 1 ounce of gold, versus today, what that same ounce of gold can buy in comparison to the dollar or to our currency.
Yeah, I remember one time you showed a slide that was like basically, I don't remember the amount of gold, but it was like back in 30 something, they bought a truck. And then, that same amount of gold today will buy like, the same truck, the latest version of it, basically. But
So
the dollar amount was crazy.
that's right. So, oh man, the number is not coming to me right now, but I believe it might have been 1920 or so. A kilo of gold was about $675. And that could buy you a vehicle at that time. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to today, that kilo of gold, take a stab in the dark. How much do you think a kilo of gold is today?
Man, how many ounces in the 36 ounces in the kilo, man? Hey, blame the dope game, man.
40 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me entertain you here and get real time. So, Kitco is my trusted, 49,766 kilo of gold. Now, my question to you, if we had saved that $675, can we even get tires for a truck with that?
Nah, you could even get a month's worth of gas, man.
Right? But if our ancestors had saved that kilo of gold, today that kilo of gold is almost 50 grand. You can get a vehicle for that. Right? Mm-hmm. Use an even simpler example. 1 gram of gold in, I believe it was 19, oh man, forget the year, but 1 gram of gold could buy you 4 loaves of bread. 1 gram, right?
Mm-hmm.
$1 could buy you 5. Wasn't that much of a difference, wasn't that big of a difference. But you fast forward to today, that 1 gram of gold can buy you more than 20 loaves of bread. $1, which is what the roughly 1 gram of gold was valued at back then, can't even get you a sandwich.
You're like, you got, what was that Chris Rock when he's like, I get 1 chicken wing? He's like, can I get 2 slices of bread? I got $1. Can I get 2 slices?
Right.
Yeah,
and it's
crazy.
just, again, it's information, knowing the history. And there's somebody that I follow, his name is Mike Maloney. He did a video series called The Hidden Secrets of Money. Amazing video series. And he says these things are cyclical. They're cycles. So if you look further in the past, you can give a good anticipation of what's coming in the future, right? And gold has always been that store of value.
So, I mean, getting back to saving in gold, you want to let the family know how they could get involved with Care Bars, or the process, or how did they get started?
Well,
Like,
process is very simple. 5-minute registration, right? They simply go to a referral link, and it's like registering an email address. Just some basic information is needed. Takes 5 minutes. Boom, you have access to the portal, right? Where now you can begin to save your devaluating paper currency in real money, which is gold. All right. And there are, where's my wallet at? Let me show you here. There are a variety of products, gold products, because they are a gold company. So like I said, they are an e-commerce company, just like Amazon or eBay. Free to open your gold savings account. Within this account, you can now begin to save. I don't know if you can see that. I'll put it closer. Right? That's 1 gram. The light's kind of messing with it. There we go. That's one gram of currency grade gold. This is 2.5, right? And this is the big boy. This is 5 grams. Okay. Now these are all heat sealed and embedded in a card-sized certificate of authenticity. Okay. Got a lot of security features and all that kind of stuff on there. So people can open their account for free. And what I do, again, I use my background in the insurance industry as sort of a guideline of when I'm helping people through this process. When I was working in the insurance industry, one of the first conversations I would have with a client is, what are your saving habits like? What kind of, do you pay yourself first? All right, because so many people are running every day to that job, and then off to that second job, and then off to that third job, trading time for money. All right. You go to work, and the thing about that is we're leveraged 1/1 with our jobs, right? You go to work, you get paid. You go to work, you get paid. You go back to work, you get paid. Don't go to work, you don't get paid. So you're leveraged 1/1, right? So how do you protect your money that you're working for, right? You pay yourself first. So no matter what you do, you go to work, you get paid, you decide, I'm going to pay myself X. Whatever that amount is, you put that aside, right? Or you say to yourself, every paycheck, I'm going to get 1 gram of gold. It's your savings plan. It's entirely up to each individual what they want to save. but it's the habit of getting into savings. Because most people right now, they work, they pay bills, they pay bills, they pay bills, they pay bills, they pay bills. And they say, I ain't got no money to save. Well, you don't have any money to save because you didn't prioritize yourself in the ledger, right? Most people put, rightfully so, they put their rent or their mortgage up top and insurance and utility bills and all that sort of stuff. What about you, Inc.? Right? You're the one trading your time, your labor for the income. So get in the habit of paying yourself first. And that's what we teach.
If there's one book that I could recommend to the family to check out if they haven't already read it, I know a lot of people have read it. It's The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clayson.
Great book.
Yeah. So, my brother, I want to thank you very much for coming through and dropping all of that fire. You know,
I appreciate you, man.
We definitely gonna come back and do this again.
I'd love to, because in all honesty, we've only scratched the surface. We ain't even scratch it.
Oh, we could go deep. We could go super deep.
Went like that, right?
Yeah.
But I would love to. Because even within Karat International, things are constantly evolving, and I have so much to be grateful for with this company, because not only has it put me in a position to be able to have a physical gold insurance, have money insurance saved for myself and my family, they've also positioned me and many others. There's just about 700,000 affiliates worldwide. We're in 144 countries. Using an online platform just like this, able to save gold around the world, and the company, then puts us in a position to also be paid from the comfort of our home. So thankfully to this company, throughout the course of our conversation, I was talking about I used to work in the insurance company. My past clients, is because this is now what I do full time, right, from the comfort of my home. And the one thing I want to leave you with, and leave your listeners with, is, for me, and I believe for most people, it's not about the money, and it's not even necessarily about the gold, but it's about the freedom. Right? When I was working in the insurance industry, I had to be gone early in the morning, because that's when my client base, the types of clients I was looking for, would start work. So to maximize the day, I get out early. I want to be able to meet as many people as I can. But when I'm talking to these people and they're working, if they're interested in looking at the insurance products, they weren't going to stop working to listen to it right then and there. So many of them would say, well, come see me one evening. Let's set up a time. And respectfully, I get that. You're trying to feed your family. I'm not trying to take you away from your work. I just want to let you know this is what I do. And if you're interested, we'll schedule a meeting. Well, those meetings were never scheduled during the day. They're scheduled in the evening. Right? So I'm gone early in the morning before my kids get up for school to go look for the clients. I'm out late at night sitting at their kitchen table, meeting with them, going through the contracts and all that sort of stuff. I come home, my kids are going to bed or they're already sleeping. I was watching my children grow up in their sleep. So if you remember at the beginning, I said I went into the insurance industry because I believed, well, number one, Mom said work for myself, but I believe I would have true time freedom. But it wasn't the case. I was still predicated based on my potential client's schedule. Well, with this opportunity through Karat International, I'm at home, right? I'm here to see my kids off to school. I'm here if there's an emergency at school. I have full-time control, right? With a residual-based income. So it's been a blessing, because it's given me my time back with my family, which I think is what is really missing in a lot of society today, because people are just working, running to the next thing, trading time for dollars. So look into it. It's been a blessing in my life, and yeah, we can talk again. RyanDForrester.com/gift. You can get my report and reach out to me if you like through the contact button.
Thank you, brother. And if you don't know, I go by the name Brian Ni Akoboidoku, also known as Melanin Rich of UpliftedBeing.com. That is the podcast that we do. And if you want to sign up for Carrot Bars, you can hit my affiliate link, my referral link, because I've been with this company since I met Ryan. I first heard about it from an ex IRS agent who got sent to jail, came out of jail, and said, the system is not what we think it is. And she said, this is what I'm doing now. And when I met Ryan, he was the first person who I actually met doing this business. And I had to go and, get a package
Mhm.
right away. And so if you're interested in more information or you want to check it out, go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/rich bars. That's /RICHBA, pardon me, RS, bit.ly/rich bars. And like I said, I am Melanin Rich, and thank you, Brother Ryan, for coming through once again.
Thank you for having me, man. I look
And
forward to the next one.
all right, we out, family. Peace and love, and y'all stay up. Peace.